All right, Azo, come on. You're good enough. You're smart enough. You can do this. People like you. Let's go. You can do it. Oh, hey. What's going on? We're going to do this again today. It's me. You got me on a Friday. It's a little freestyle Friday, and you got your boy Azo. So hit the music, and let's get the show started. Thanks, guys.
It's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O's, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K,
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
You are now listening to The Sid Seixeiro Show. Powered by Sick Media, the sickest Toronto sports show. Now, here's your host, Sid.
What's up? That's how it usually starts, right? But it's true. It's not Sid. Like the sick voice guy said, it's me. It's Azo. You got Jeff Azoparty here today to join you. To bring you home on a Friday. Sid, again, is dealing with a family matter. So, again, we'll give him his time and his space. Family comes first, and we can all appreciate that. We're all a family here. So you got me for today, for the Friday. Again, probably keep it to around an hour. Maybe we'll go a bit over because there's a lot going on. Hockey was crazy last night. I'm going to bring a couple friends on. Shayne from the Sick family is going to join me. And Rob Longley of Post Media, talk some Jays. So we got you covered. We're going to go all around. But I'll be honest. I was wondering where to start today. I see some people in the chat say just go all wrestling. Kind of want to do that, but, we'll start on hockey. And where I'm going to start is with the Maple Leaf. No, not the Maple Leafs. Oh, I did see the comment in the chat say, watching the show with me. Oh, okay. Sorry, let's go to the chat. Jith on the chat said, looking forward to seeing what Azo thought of Pat McAfee's WWE heel appearance. So bad. I couldn't agree more, and maybe we'll get to it in a bit. I saw another one in the chat. The show without Sid is like watching last night's Leaf game. Maybe. It could be. I would hope I'm not that bad, and we'll get into it. Like I said, I want to start with the Maple Leaf, but not the Maple Leafs. I'm starting with the Maple Leaf, like as in Team Canada, and how lucky we are as a country to claim Matthew Schaefer as one of our own. Man, how good is he? Schaefer is amazing. He's almost so good. He makes the people in Long Island forget they have to boo John Tavares, although they're still doing it. And I respect the fact that they're committed to the bit. It's like they're doing it off muscle memory, though. It's like they can't. Their heart wasn't in it last night because they actually have a good team. They have a great player that they want to watch. But like Matthew Schaefer is outstanding. And guess what? That's what happens when you tank sometimes and you go into the top 5. So Keith Pelly, take notes. That's the kind of player you might get. Let's start with his accomplishment, man. What he did last night. And by the way, the boost to Tavares, probably even more. And again, their hearts weren't in it than Marner got when he got to Toronto. So come on, Toronto sports fans, commit to the bit like they do in Long Island. Again, Matthew Schaefer tied the NHL record for goals by a rookie defenseman last night. That goal in the second was his 23rd of the season. He almost broke the record with an empty netter. They were trying to get it for him, but he didn't. But he matches Hall of Famer, obviously, Brian Leetch's record for rookie defender, set in 88, 89. So he's pretty good. I don't know who thought he couldn't help our Olympic team, because you ask me, if he was on that team, I say we're bringing home gold. I'm going to tell myself that anyways. So you know what? Just based on that, if Doug Armstrong, I know they're saying the timing's not right, even if he puts in an application, throw it to the side, because he didn't think we didn't need Matthew Schaefer, and I don't want him as our GM because that guy is amazing. All right, so let's get into the Leafs now and how bad that was last night. It was pretty tough to watch. It really was. They have a rookie goaltender in. I think this is where I got to start, right? Like they defeat the Islanders to defeat the Toronto Marlies. I guess I shouldn't say that. Like they are the Maple Leafs still. It might be an insult to the Marlies to call them the Marlies. They are the Maple Leafs still. And I mean that, like, even when they lose, they look bad doing it. Like you have a rookie goaltender in. And what's this kid get brought up for? He faces the most shot differential in any period this entire season. Like, really? Really? That's what you're going to do to this kid in his first pro start? That is unreal. I know on the broadcast on TSN, they were ripping him. Some people are like, why? Who cares? They're tanking. Let them. But come on, man. This is how you ruin some of your prospects. And lucky that kid has such a great attitude. Everybody talks about his poise. Everybody talks about what a great attitude he has. And man, did he need it last night. Because he actually did keep him in the game. The one place the Leafs are safe might be goaltending. Because they got about 4 of them, and who's ever in there seems to fight them for it. So I want to go through some of the sound we heard post-game. And it is pretty crazy. Like yesterday, Sid and I talked. We expected it to be a bit of a blowout, right? Like Peter DeBoer's first game as Islanders head coach after getting rid of Patrick Waugh. And that was a bit of a sideshow yesterday, too. Some reports came out about Patrick Waugh and players not wanting to listen to him talk about it, how many cups he won and his championships. And then the players had to come out before the game and defend it and say that wasn't true. So they were in a bit of a weird thing. But, you know, new coach bounce. You always want to play hard for your new coach. And that's certainly what they did. I didn't know they were an offensive juggernaut to the point where, what was the shot total? Like 44-16? Man, 24-3 after that first period. A kid's first pro start, and you let him take 24 shots on him in one period while you get 3. Unreal. Like, don't tell me there isn't a culture problem here. Like, these guys aren't a team. They're not fighting for each other. They have no courage. They don't step up. Even for a new kid coming in. And I get, like, honestly, watching this team just messes with your mind because you know you want them to lose, but they still do something that shows the culture is not right in that room. And it's so frustrating and so annoying. So, 24-3 after 1. Again, biggest shot differential in a period this season. Unbelievable. 36-9 after the second. And then a flurry of shots came out at the end when, again, they pulled the goalie, which this time I was actually happy they pulled the goalie because that kid shouldn't have been in net for longer than he needed to be. But, like, oh, man. So frustrating. Again, and I don't know what we're watching here. We're not. Like, the Islanders are fighting for a spot. I thought they would have taken it to him a bit more. But I want to take you back into the room and some of the things we heard from the coach and from some of the players after the game on some of the rookies who stepped up and played last night. So let's start with Berube. Berube first, he came to the poll, and obviously everybody, whether it was coach or player, first question was about the goalie, Artie Antti-Niemi. I'm just going to call him Artie. You guys know I have problems with names, so I'm just going to call him Artie for the rest of this show. He was pretty great. And Luke Hames as well, who actually got an assist and ended up a +1 on the night. Pretty good night. Wasn't bad at all. But yeah, so Craig Berube comes to the podium, gets the mic, and they ask him what he thought of his goalie's appearances and then what changed after the first period. Here's what Craig Berube had to say.
Your young goalie handled the occasion tonight.
Yeah, he was good. I mean, first period, he had a lot of action, you know. We knew that coming into the first period, they're going to come hard, and they did. And I thought he really stood his ground and held us in there. He had a good game, I thought, overall.
What allowed you guys to settle in after that first period?
Yeah, well, you knew they were going to come, and we just, you know, they came hard in the first and shot everything at the net. And we didn't recover pucks and make a play to get out of there, so we got hemmed in a little bit too much. But I thought we settled in, scored a PP goal, got us back in the game, and then we got in penalty trouble. Like, that's really the bottom line. I didn't like the 5-on-3 call at all. I think it's weak, and but that's the way it goes. And unfortunate bounce in that goal. And you know, just overall, like, we had 60 shot attempts tonight or something, and 15 of them hit the net. So that's really a lot of the story for me.
He thinks they had 60 shots, but only 15 hit the net. And we might have a bigger problem here than we thought. Like, really, Craig? Really? And again, I thought you were a defensive-minded coach. How are you letting this kid get splattered with shots? Like, just an abundance of shots. It's crazy. It's insane to me. So then the players start coming out. And of course, they parade Morgan Riley out there, right? The pseudo-captain for years, even when Tavares was. Because he has a good quote, takes his stuff personally. And so Morgan got asked about the rookies who are getting a chance to play now. Here's what he said.
It was great, obviously, in the first. You know, we allowed too many shots, but I thought he was outstanding and, you know, kept us in it after the first. And I thought Hamer was great, too. So I think they both came.
All right. So we heard him. We let him get too many shots on him. So you know what's going on, don't you? Now let's hear from Stolars. Stolars was another guy who's great quote. Love hearing from Stolars. They asked him about the rookies playing, and here's what he said.
As a team wasn't there,
Sure.
But as you look for positives and you see a performance and what that means to him, what are your thoughts on his performance tonight?
Both of those kids, Hamesy and Artie, played a great games tonight. We kind of left Artie out to dry. Giving up that many shots, we didn't really give him much of a chance. But for what, the saves that he made, where he was, he looked calm in the net, he looked confident in the net. He made some saves where he was just moving around side to side, and he just looked like he, felt comfortable. And, Hamesy, playing with him, he just kept it simple and did his job, and he was a hounder on the forecheck, and, he got a point, and, he caused my goal as well. So it's great to see that some positives you can still take away from a game like that. Okay,
so two things there. Again, you're hanging this rookie out to dry. We know we hung him out to dry. But you know what? He settled in. Why not by fire? Just throw him in there and let them shoot as much as they can at him to set a record for this season. And then, Hames, the other guy, he's to blame for my goal. I can't believe I scored. Like, tell me they're trying to tank without telling me they're trying to tank. And which is what they should be doing, which, again, you want to be happy about. You want to be happy they lost that. You want them to fall into the top 5. But watching it, and for a couple rookies out there who are being left to fend for themselves, I don't know if you want that around your young prospects. Like, there has to be a balance here. And all these guys are kind of responsible for that. I don't know. It is a little bit of a mind bleep. Like, I don't know what to make of it. And watching it, you just get frustrated. And all of a sudden, this team can score, no matter what the goalie is. Kemper last week, and now Sorokin, like, they were in that game for some bizarre reason. They shouldn't have been, but they were. Like, I don't know what was going on. Like, it's crazy. They're somehow finding the net, even though Berube says they're shooting 60 shots, but only 15 of them are landing on the net. That's not good math. That's another thing that you might have to worry about. But I want to get to Artie himself. And all the, like I said, a lot of reports about him are that, he's poised. He has a great, like, he's always positive. He's always working. And he really is. Because listen to this kid after the game last night, after being like just shattered with shots, 44 shots all night. Like, it's unbelievable. Here's what Artie said after the game, the rookie goalie.
Feel for you.
Feel was unbelievable. Like my first game, I'm so excited, and it's I think a good experience for me. And yeah.
You were busy. How did that help you kind of get into it right away?
I like when I'm busy, honestly, and yeah. But my team does lots of work, lots of good work, and we just, I think, was unlucky tonight.
What is your favorite or best moment, do you think, tonight?
Every moment, my favorite, yeah. I mean, first game, yeah, I remember this game for all my life.
Like, what's he supposed to say? His team hung him out to dry. What's he supposed to say? The whole game was great. What was your favorite one? All of it. I got to play in the NHL. I guess that's the way you could look. My team was a bit unlucky. No, man, they hung you out to dry as a rookie. Like, you're supposed to play a little bit harder. I know he's got to prove himself, but you do a rookie lap for a reason. Can't just, man, again, just throwing into the fire. Anyways, that was the game. I don't know what else to talk about it. Like, again, happy they lost. Fall into that bottom five. Hopefully get that pick. Hopefully do something with it. Don't trade it. Just try. Because, again, this is the year you want that. Like, even if you don't win the lottery and you don't move up, there's some good defensemen at the top of this rookie class. And guess what? That's something they could use. So hopefully they do it. As far as their search for new executives, president, GM, all of it, no real updates yet. CJ had some stuff where I believe it was CJ. He was talking about how they think they rushed the process last time hiring Brad Treliving, because all they did was 2 interviews, Brad Treliving and Mark Bergevin. And Treliving got the job within a week or whatever it was, because they were on a deadline with Mitch Marner. So we were told to rest assured they're going to do more interviews than 2. So well done, Leafs. I'm glad you're going to weigh some other options on this. So we just have to wait and see that. And we'll see what happens. They're back in action on Saturday, again, against the Florida Panthers. It's a tank bowl. So we'll see who can play worse and who can try and get into that top 5 and steal that pick. And then it was funny. So Sid and I were texting actually last night during the game a bit, during the end. And, just what a disaster the whole game was. And then Sid flipped over to where I think everybody wanted to watch. It was that Lightning and Habs game last night. It was pretty incredible. And here's what Sid texted me. Watching this Tampa Habs game after watching the Leaf game is like watching another universe. And he was right. Like, it's crazy. That might be like top 2 games I've seen this year. And the other one was Tampa and Buffalo. Like, what I love the most about Buffalo and Montreal is they're not scared. Again, Tampa wishes they were back in the days when they got the Leafs in the first round, because the Leafs never fought back. Montreal, Buffalo, they're going to fight back. And they see a target on Tampa, and it's time of changing with the guard. And Tampa sees the train coming because it's coming straight for them. Like, it was very crazy. The Habs won last night, 2-1. And you would think the game winner was the big news story last night, but it wasn't. It was the first goal the Habs got, because it got Cole Caulfield to 50 goals last night. First time since Montreal, became the first Montreal player to score 50 goals in a season in more than 3 decades. Only the 7th Canadiens player in franchise history to hit that mark, and the first, since 1989, 1990. Caulfield wasn't even close to being born yet. I don't know if his parents knew each other back then. Like, it's crazy. And there's some great shots of his dad in the crowd, And I love the sports fandom because they are from Wisconsin. He's wearing a Brewers hat. Good for him. He got emotional. I heard there were some reports that, some people tried to interview him after, and he was like, no, this is my son's moment. I'm going to let him have all of it. And I love that too. And there were some other important people. Like, not only Sid was watching the game, there were some other people watching it too. Prime Minister Mark Carney was in the crowd, and he was loving it. Look at that. He was loving it. And he still isn't the biggest name I saw. Because you know what else I saw in the crowd? Montreal's own Kevin Owens, WWE. He was loving it too. He had a great seat too. I knew he was a big Habs fan, but it was awesome when they showed him. Like, what a great night for that city, and the ovation. Like, go watch it. The English call was amazing. The French call was amazing. But he did, I think, two interviews on the ice after. It was amazing. They were both amazing. The crowd just wouldn't stop cheering for him. Like that's a cathedral. No bibliotech there. The noise was loud. It was hard. It was amazing to watch. Check out all the highlights on it. And even after, I've never seen Marty St. Louis smile so much. And even Caulfield after was giving Marty such great praises for the development he's helped him with, how he's taught him to score in the NHL and all that. So I want to get into that more because it was really the best story of the night last night. Not only did the Habs pick up the win, but Caulfield hit that. So to do that, I'm going to bring on my favorite Frenchman from Habs tonight and trust the process, Shayne Gaumond. Shayne, thanks so much, buddy, for dropping. Oh, look at that. Look at that background. That's pretty sweet.
Bonjour, Azo. How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you? I'm glad we get to do this, dude. We'll start with the Habs. We'll jump around a little bit, but we'll start with the Habs. Tell me, where were you last night? How did you watch that? Like, were you jumping up? What was the reaction when he finally got it?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, Azo, thank you for bringing me on. I love what you guys have been doing on the show. What an addition to the Sick Network. And just want to give my thoughts to Sid right now, obviously going through something, and we're hoping that, to see him back soon.
He'll be back as soon as he can. I promise you that.
He's the man, but so are you, Azo. And yes, to answer your question, I was at home and I woke up the entire apartment building. Okay. I was jumping up and down. Listen, it was spectacular. Like, you can't write it any better than what happened. It was really just out of a fairy tale. Cole Caulfield, the guy who was overlooked his whole career, slipped down to 15th, even though he broke records in the USNTDP. And here he goes. The 50 goal scorer never scored 50. Yeah, that's right.
It's true. It's amazing. It felt like there was some pressure building up, though, because it took a couple games, right? It's like, 3 games where he didn't do it, like, since his 49th goal. And it felt like, even in the crowd, like, I thought it told, like, everyone telling the crowd to relax, because it felt like there was a tension, especially after they came off the last road trip and got home. Was that the censor? Or was it just the city dying for him to get it?
I think everybody was just looking forward to the moment. But I knew right? the players were kind of forcing it a little bit, and Suzuki and Slavkovsky kind of admitted to that. They're like, yeah, we were looking for him, like, we wanted it to be done, because it's all the discussion, really. That's all anybody could talk about, and now we can move on. Now we can he got his 50th. It was a great moment, and well done acknowledging the calls as well. Pierre Hood on the French call, like, that is an all-timer. I listened to it at least 15 times. Like, it just gives me chills. The whole moment.
You know what I love about it, Shayne? It wasn't just the call itself, but then letting it breathe and listening to the audience, like the crowd, just get right into it and just let the kid have his moment. And I liked it even when he came out for those interviews, like one with Ren Lavoie and one with, who was it, Denis? Like Mark Denis?
Yeah, Mark Denis.
Yeah. And on the ice for both of those. And as soon as they interviewed him, crowd just goes nuts again. And it's like 5 minutes of a standing ovation. And you could just see him soak it in, look around. At times it looked like he was going to get emotional, and then just a huge smile on his face. Like, that's why you love to play in Montreal. I don't know if I've seen that in Toronto in a lot. Like, we didn't do that when Austin scored 69. Like, it's crazy. Maybe if you got to 70, maybe we would have done it. I don't know. But who knows? The calls were outstanding. And the whole night was.
Exactly. And for anybody who didn't watch the post-game show with Tony Marinaro, Brian Wild of Global TV was on with Tony, and he got emotional. Like, Brian was in the building. Like, he goes to, every game during the week. And like, he's like, the atmosphere, the camaraderie, the passion that unites everybody in that building, including the players, it's palpable. You can taste it. Like, it's incredible. I've been I grew up in Montreal. I've been watching hockey since about 2006. I've never seen anything like this. Like, in about 20 years of watching hockey, I've never seen anything like this. The energy, the passion in the city right now, it's outstanding. And playoffs are upon us, my friend. It's going to be fun.
They're right there. Well, there's still some things to get sorted out. We'll get into that in a second. But I also want to say, you know what else is amazing about the 50 goals before we move past it? No empty netters. Like, that's crazy. I think there's only four guys in NHL history, I believe I read: Draisaitl, Ovechkin, Danny Healy, and him. Like, with 50-goal seasons with no empty netters. Insane to me. Like, it's insane. And to your point, I've watched games at the Bell Center, and, like, man, I always say it's the best place to watch a game. They do it right with the intros and everything. But being there last night must have been a whole other level. And it wasn't just him, right? Like Slavkovsky got his 30th goal. Like what I loved was before the game being asked about it. Who gets there? Does he get his 50th or does Slavkovsky get his 30th? And he's like, they're both happening. And he was bang on. So next time somebody's got to ask Suzuki if they're winning the cup and let him say yes, because he can obviously predict the future. But you mentioned it. Now he can move on. So what is next? Just looking towards the playoffs for this team?
Exactly. But, Azo, the game itself, you mentioned it, right? The game itself was one of the craziest I've ever seen. Like beyond just the physicality, right? Obviously, these are two very talented teams and the talent was on display, but there was like emotion in this game. Every player was bought in on both sides and they were fighting for each other, right? It wasn't just fighting to hurt. It wasn't just fighting for the sake of fighting. Like they were fighting for each other. They're like, no, my team is better than your team. And we're going to show you why. Man, it was just incredible cinema. And listen, I don't know. It's never a good idea to pick your opponents in the playoffs. I want a 7-game series of this stuff, man. I need it.
I'd almost rather Buffalo and them beat each other up, or you guys take the winner, but whatever. Because I'm getting on the Habs bandwagon, man. I'm sorry. Sorry to all Leafs fans. I think I'm on the Habs bandwagon. But it was, you're right. Like I said, how physical in that it was. What was 10-minute misconducts, 126 penalty minutes total. The second period alone had 100. The thing I loved about it most were guys were standing up for each other, getting into it. But like, was it Lane Hudson who wouldn't like Corey Perry kept trying to pick at him, and he wouldn't. Like he was like, "I'll stand right here, but I'm not going with you. Like it's not worth it. You're not worth it," which I loved.
Lane is pesky, man. Like that's a side of him that not many people know. You could see Corey Perry trying to get under Lane's skin. I think the opposite actually happened. I think Lane got under Corey's skin because Corey was distraught the whole game. And then when Jack Guy got him in the corner and he's like, "Okay, you ready to go now?" And Corey's like, "No, I'm good." Like, there you go. It didn't do anything. So Lane Hudson is spectacular. He had his nose sliced open. Like you got a punch in the face, right? Doesn't give a poop. This guy is unreal. And you know what? He actually did sort of fight in the World Juniors. I think it was the gold medal game against Sweden. Like he got in a scrap. He's got some tenacity to this game, man. It's unreal.
And then like we can talk about some other guys like Captain Nick Suzuki. 2 assists, raised his season total to 70. That's not nothing. Like he's good. And talk to me about the goaltenders. Dovish made 17 saves, but it's like his 7th consecutive win, I believe, right? Like how do you see him? He's got to be the guy going in, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it. And look, goaltending was a big question mark for a good chunk of the season for Montreal, right? That was the big Achilles heel because there were games that they were playing really well, and then they let in a few softies, and there you go, you blow the lead. And you drop the 2 points, right? Now is not the case at all. Jakub Dobeš is standing on his head. He's locked in. You could tell, like he's in the zone. He's feeling it. He knows where to go. And I got to give credit to the goalie coach here, Marco Marciano. Ever since he came in from the Laval Rocket, like you could see the improvement in Jakub Dobeš, and you could see like, oh, Jacob Fowler. Like if Jakub Dobeš has a bad night, or God forbid he gets injured. Like he could take over. Jacob Fowler's already ready for the NHL. So all the power to Marco, to the goalies, and quick word as well to Sam Montembeault, who is taking this like a champ, okay? Because, I mean, last year he was the number 1, and he started the year as the number 1, and he lost the spot. He's the number 3 now. And you know what? He's still showing up to the rink with a smile. He was in the team picture last night with Cole and the gang. This guy's a true professional, and I really, really hope for him that next year he can find his game, whether it be with the Habs or somewhere else. But he's a great guy, really great guy.
It's such a great point, Shane. I'm glad you brought that up because that is part of being a team, right? Like, when it's not your turn, you can kind of sit back, not pout, not show any frustration. You just let the guys do their thing, right? Like, you're right. It's amazing, and it just lends to their whole team dynamic. Now, there is some stuff in the division to still sort out. Where do you see them finishing? They're going to take this? Because I think them and Tampa, I believe, have a game on Buffalo. Buffalo won last night 5-0. They got their rookie goaltender shutout last night. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the other thing about the goalies you just mentioned. Like, they're all young. Like, basically 2 of them are rookies. Because I know Elliot Friedman was talking about maybe this year in the playoffs, like some teams, because there's a salary cap even in the playoffs, they might actually sit their number 2 goalie, right? Because they're trying to get under a salary cap sometimes. And the second goalie, if he's making more money and you have a third guy who isn't, like they kind of dress the third guy and just hope that goalie doesn't get hurt. But you guys are set. Like Montreal is set in that regard. So what do you think for the division? They got this or what? They're winning the Atlantic or what's going on?
Second.
Okay.
Look, Buffalo is such an amazing story this year, and they have the easier to finish the season. Like Habs are playing Columbus, the Islanders, and Philly, all of whom are still alive in the playoff race. So they're going to come out swinging. They could realistically win all 3 games, but I don't know. I think Buffalo, even if Buffalo wins their last 2, they have the tiebreaker, so they win the division. I'm going to go second, home ice advantage in the first round.
There you go.
Buffalo's going to win it. Yeah.
You want to talk? Let's talk about another team quickly who's going to get home ice advantage that maybe some other teams didn't see coming. It's the Pittsburgh Penguins. Like, man, clinching a playoff spot, first time since 2022. Let's talk about your boy, Sidney Crosby. I know I hear you're a pretty big fan over there.
Look at this.
There you go. Guy's got everything. You're in the room, my friend. So Shayne just showed us a Canada Sidney Crosby jersey framed hanging on the wall.
Never bet against 87.
Never.
Listen, the Pittsburgh Penguins are my dark horse to win it all this year. I love the storylines. I love everything about this team. The old core who everybody thought was washed. They're like, we still got it. We still got it. Look at that. This is the last dance, really, right? We're expecting Malkin to, maybe call it a career soon. Crosby's, he's 38. How much more does he have, right? I think he's got enough left in the tank. These guys know how to win. All right, they're prepared. They've been through it. Credit to Kyle Dubas. Is that name forbidden on this show? Can I say credit to Kyle Dubas?
Oh, there's been a lot of things. You know what I love about this, Shayne, is not only will it piss off people here in Toronto. Imagine what it's going to do to people in Edmonton if they see Stuart Skinner win a Stanley Cup.
I was going there. There because I was telling you about the storylines, right? The storylines are all there, including in net. Stuart Skinner, could you imagine that? He's been to two straight Stanley Cup finals. Like, he's proven that he could be a playoff caliber goalie.
Yeah.
Imagine if he wins it.
I know. Not in Edmonton. The Edmonton Natives not winning it in Edmonton is something. Yeah. So to what you were talking about, right? They clinched last night. Pens are playoff bound for the first time since 2022. Ending a 3-year drought that followed a streak of qualifying of 16 seasons in a row. Now, for me, that's a quick retool. That's what you hope here in Toronto, that you would do it. And they still did it, like you said, with Malkin. He scored last night at a 2-point game. Sidney Crosby, 2 assists. Chris Letang, an assist. Like, those are the guys, but it wasn't just them. It's Chinnikov had a goal and 2 assists, right?
Yeah, what a pickup.
Right? Like Stuart Skinner. Both guys were gotten by your boy, Kyle Dubas, in December in trades. Like, you have that mix of old and new, and they're stacked with draft picks coming up. Like, Kyle has done a hell of a job over there.
Incredible. And, the rookie Ben Kindle, like, wow. That's what happens when you pick high in the draft.
Right?
It's true. And you don't trade it for Brandon Carlo. Anyways, no, listen, the Penguins are such a beautiful story. The city of Pittsburgh, like, on the Sick Network, we have a show for the Steelers. And, I get to kind of keep tabs on the Steelers and the Penguins and the city of Pittsburgh and how they're feeling. And right now it's buzzing. They've got the NFL draft in Pittsburgh this year.
I know.
The NHL playoffs are back in Pittsburgh. Listen, I love the storylines here. I love the way they're playing. Erik Karlsson's on another level. He can lead a team on the defense. Yeah. I might put a few bucks on Betway, actually. I like
that. Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I was just listening. I think Frege on 32 Thoughts today are like, Pittsburgh's really happy that they got home ice advantage, because if they were back at home for games 3 and 4, it would coincide with the NFL draft. And hotel rooms and everything would have been a disaster. And most teams don't want anything to do with that, which is kind of insane. Okay, one more thing. You showed me the Canada jersey. Let's talk about the team with two of the best Canadians on it. Colorado. They got the presidents. They locked up the president's trophy last night. You think they're the odds-on favorite to like you said? You could see Pittsburgh doing it. Are the Avalanche the odds-on favorite to bring Stanley Cup back to Colorado?
You have to think, but I don't know. Nazem Kadri's injured. Kadri's injured. That's not good. McCarr's injured right now. Yeah. McCarr's injured right now. So look, if they come in healthy, it's hard to see a team beating them. Really, they're solid. Nathan McKinnon's getting empty net tap-ins though, so unethical Rocket Richard Trophy. But look, we're not talking about that. They're a wagon of a team. There's a reason why they're first in the league. The goaltending tandem as well. Wedgwood, Blackwood, both Woods. They're steady. No matter who you're putting in net, you know you got a chance to win. I think they're deep. They're talented. The first line's incredible. They have a healthy Gabe Landeskog. I think that's something that's overlooked. Having the captain there, he's one of the best leaders in the league and a heck of a player as well. Yeah, I wouldn't want to face Colorado, no doubt about it. And look, they're going to get either likely the Kings or the Predators in the first round. You know, when you compare that to Dallas, Minnesota, that's going to be a gauntlet. Whichever team comes out of that is going to be banged up.
It's true. Talk about not being healthy.
Come out of that series fresh as a daisy. Like it's going to be light work. So
you're right. Sometimes it's just about staying healthy, without a doubt. You talked about the good vibes in Pittsburgh. Never mind. In Colorado this week, listen, the Colorado Rockies had the longest, going into last night, Colorado Rockies had the longest active winning streak in Major League Baseball. They lost in extra innings last night. And the Denver Nuggets had the longest active winning streak in the NBA going into last night. So it's all pretty crazy. Shayne, you do me a huge favor jumping on here. Because, okay, last topic. There's no games in the NHL tonight. Okay. Like all these NHL people are taking the day off because there's 0 games on this condensed rush schedule in Olympic year. There's no games. And that includes Saturday and Sunday. We have maybe the last time Crosby and Ovi face off against each other. And they play Saturday at 3 o'clock and they play Sunday at 3 o'clock. Why couldn't they have showcased that game tonight? Like, why is there 0 games on tonight? Can you explain that to me?
I wish I could. I mean, is there another major event going on other than the Masters? Like,
no,
sure, the Masters is going on, but that's during the day. Like,
yeah, there's no lights at Augusta. I don't understand it. What are you doing with your free night? Is it giving you a free night or what?
I have so many issues and gripes with the NHL schedule. This year is like, okay, sure, the Olympics kind of messed everything up. There's no reason to have off nights. No reason whatsoever. Like, this is just a missed opportunity. Even just have one game. Like one game that everybody can tune into. You have none.
Yeah, Pittsburgh versus
tomorrow. You have 30 teams playing. How does that make any sense? I understand having most teams playing on Saturday. That's fine, but at least balance it out. Like you have 2 teams not playing tomorrow, so make them play tonight.
Right.
I don't get it, man. I couldn't explain it to you. Listen, I don't want to minimize the daunting task that is making an NHL schedule, because it's got to be horrible. Like there's so many things to take into consideration. It's got to be so hard to do, but there's just no good reason to not have anything happening tonight. That's just stupid, really.
I agree. I agree 100%. Well, thanks a lot, buddy. Really appreciate you hopping on with me. Check out Habs tonight. Best pregame show on Montreal. Follow them throughout the playoffs. It's going to run. You're going to want some playoff coverage. Toronto fans, you got nothing else to do. Why wouldn't you check it out? Like, get behind this bandwagon. Get on it from Trust the Process. Shayne Gaumond, my favorite Frenchman. Again, thanks for doing this, buddy. We'll talk soon.
Hey, always a pleasure. Keep killing it. You're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. All right. So now we get to turn the page. And despite there being no NHL tonight, it's still the best time of year. Puck drops, not tonight, but there will be. There, like you said, 30 teams in action tomorrow. Puck drops, tip-offs, first pitches. When the game is on, you call the shots. Head to betway.ca and bet your way. Must be 19 plus. Play responsibly. All right. So that's the NHL. Maybe if we have some time at the end, I would like to shout out the Winnipeg Jets, who are pretty amazing with what they're doing. And maybe talk a little bit about Ottawa, because they're going to get in and they could cause some noise in the playoffs. But I do, we're already here past, man, it's 12:40 almost. And I haven't talked about my favorite team, the Toronto Blue Jays. Tell me out there. I'm going to bring on another friend. Here we got Rob Longley of Post Media and the Toronto Sun. Rob, Really appreciate you hopping on here. How you doing, my friend?
Hey, good, Azza. Oh, we're a little bright in here, aren't we? Let me get this fixed up. There we go.
Good, man. That's the future of the Toronto Blue Jays right there. The lights bright, shining bright. Now, you were down there for that Dodgers series. What was the feeling? Like, how much did that last win kind of help them, like, just relieve some tension on what they've been going through early in the season here?
Yeah, I think it was a huge weight off of their back, Azzo, obviously, right? I mean, so many things had gone poorly at the start of the season. And then you get to that Dodgers series, so much emotion attached to it. As much for the fans as the players tried to play it down, saying that, it wasn't really a rematch of the World Series, but of course it was, right? I mean, you want to have a chance at redemption there. And what do? You get blown out in the first game and then booted around in the second game. And, things even in that third game weren't going all that well. And if you're going to get swept by the Dodgers, I think it would have really taken them into that off day yesterday in a really bad frame, and then a lot more pressure on tonight when they're back at home against the Minnesota Twins. So, I mean, it was a fairly big win for them. It wasn't a pretty win by any means, but I think it allowed them to at least exhale a little bit heading into that off day.
Without a doubt, I think we got to see some of their identity that we came to love last year, right? In that win, right. It was a series of hits. It was guys picking each other up. It was, one guy leads it off. Like I would say George Springer was a catalyst there. And then, a couple, they score that inning, they score the next inning, and they kind of take it to them. The relievers do their job. This is 2 weeks after the season has started, and it feels like we've been through so much emotion already with the ceremony of the first game, getting swept by Chicago that weekend. They've been fighting illness, they've had injuries. What stood out to you in these first 2 weeks, or where's your biggest concern with this team?
I think you mentioned some of the things that have gone wrong. The injuries, that really wasn't in their control. A pretty nasty flu bug that swept through the clubhouse. That's pretty much out of their control as well. But what is in their control and what made them such a good team last year was how clean they played the game, how they did things the right way. And you mentioned it, Azzo, the way they scored those winning runs with Davis Schneider finally doing some correct things on the base paths and not throwing the game away. I mean, what defined that Toronto Blue Jays team last year was every man contributing. Through so much of spring training, and even at the start of the season, John Schneider, his buzz phrase for this season was how we have to out team the opposition. Well, that's whatever that means. That's exactly what they did last season, right? They took care of the little things very well last season, and then they started winning. And then when they started winning, they started playing with confidence, and it just snowballed upwards from there. Well, this season started in the opposite way. They made silly mistakes. You get swept by the White Sox, the worst team in the American League. You lose a series to the Colorado Rockies, the worst team in all of baseball. So what? You beat the Athletics, but it was funny too, because the season it was sort of a dangerous start to the season because of those factors. You have the target on your back. And if ever the Colorado Rockies and the Chicago White Sox are going to be playing well, it's early in the season. We saw some of the pitching efforts, especially from the White Sox guys. They had some pretty nasty stuff. Jay's got the target on their back, playing a little bit sloppy, and everyone was expecting them to go no worse than 6-3. If you go 6-3, that was kind of like the break-even mark out of those first three series, and they did the opposite, right? So obviously, panic didn't set in, but you come back with a sick team, injuries, and the Los Angeles Dodgers, who I think actually felt that they had something to prove because they got a little bit tired of the narrative in the offseason that the better team lost the World Series. I don't know if that was just sort of comfort food for Blue Jays fans to go down that road. But the Dodgers came into Toronto saying, yeah, we're the World Series champions, and we're going to remind you why we're the World Series champions. And for the first two games, they sure did that. Those two games weren't even close. And it almost a surprise that the Blue Jays won the third one with Shohei Ohtani starting, but at least a little bit of an exhale, as I said earlier, that they could win that.
To me, it actually looked like Shohei was even over pitching a bit. Like he wanted that bad because some of his pitching got called into question in the World Series as well. Like, don't get me wrong, still a great performance, but he also didn't look typical Shohei. And to your point, like all off season, we heard, the the Blue Jays won the division. They're better than the Yankees. They outplayed the Dodgers in the World Series. Like, we're on their level. Both those teams started, the Dodgers and the Yankees both started 7-2, and it didn't matter who their opponents were. And the Yankees are dealing with their own injuries with Garrett Cole out. They still don't have Anthony Rendon, So, they're dealing with their own stuff right now. And I think you nailed it. Like, the defense is what surprised me the most, because to me, that was their biggest identity last year, is that they played clean and fundamentally sound baseball. And I think it won them series last year. Like, what you made, especially in the infield, like with Ernie at second and Okamoto especially at third. Well, what's your take on how the infield and how the defense is looking?
Oh, well, let's give it a little bit of time. I mean, I thought Okamoto was decent in spring training, and I thought that he would be at least a credible third baseman. Now, he made that error in one of the games where a ball went right through his legs. It was sharply hit, but you got to knock that ball down. But I don't think you can completely write him off defensively. I think it was more sloppiness, and I think we saw John Schneider get, maybe uncharacteristically upset about it. He certainly had some pointed comments in Chicago after a couple of those sloppy games. And as entertaining as that ejection was the other night, it was probably the most spectacular ejection of his career, which was a lot of fun. It
was more than just that one, Tom.
He was upset at the balk call, but there was a lot more going on inside his head. And that eruption was reflective of some of his frustrations with how the season had gone to that point, and some of the ways that his team had played, leading to a couple of those losses. I think maybe the fear amongst Blue Jays fans right now would be that, and I don't believe this myself, but and we will see over the coming weeks, is that maybe that magical run last year was a little bit of an outlier. Maybe it was a confluence of everything going right at the right time. That whole all for one for all mentality, which was a legitimate thing and led to a lot of their successes. I guess if you're a Blue Jays fan, your fear is that maybe it was an outlier. Maybe the Jays, full credit for them to get where they did, and be 2 outs away from winning the World Series. That was a tremendous accomplishment, well-deserved, well-earned. But given how the season has started, and given some of the injury concerns, and given some of the concerns offensively, the fear would be that was an outlier. Like I said, I don't believe that is the case, but certainly when you start out the way that you do, a long season ahead of them, you don't want this type of play to get entrenched, which to me is why the upcoming weekend series against the Twins is somewhat important.
I agree with you 100%, Rob. And to me, it's based mostly, I should say, on the offense. Because think about it, 2 years ago when they were in last place, like every game was 2-1, 3-1. Like, they couldn't score. And that was their biggest thing, where they needed a banger. They needed a guy who could hit the long ball to try and get them back into games. And you're right. Like last year was a full team effort. And again, it's making me laugh. You mentioned him. David Schneider kind of set the tone in that last game when they pulled off the win, getting those 2 wins. And we were made to believe he almost didn't make this roster. He literally is the 26th man on this roster. And he's the one who's setting the tone by taking those walks. And have you noticed, like, do you feel like they're not as patient as last year? Or what do you make of Vladdy's start and some of the frustration he's showing, like by not being, I guess, where he thought he'd be, like, especially after the postseason last year?
Yeah, that's a really good point on Vladdy, because we saw after a couple of his at-bats, I believe in the second game against the Dodgers, he was pretty frustrated. He was slamming his bat. He stayed in the dugout like 10 or 15 minutes after that second game. And he was pretty frustrated, which, I can understand if you're going through a long slump in August, or if you're not hitting in the postseason, and you know that you're a leader of the team and you're supposed to be producing, that you get frustrated like that. I found it a little bit, I was eye-opening that he was that animated in his frustration. But to your point, Azo, was like, I think in his mind, and in so many, in the mind of so many fans and even management, the expectation was that he would carry on from what he did in the postseason last year, because he did have a pretty good spring training, and his bat was productive at the WBC. So everyone was sort of expecting that, okay, the postseason, Vladdy, we're going to get that guy in the regular season and watch us go right off of the start. I thought that some of his comments after Wednesday's game, he admitted that the team was frustrated, and not everybody wants to admit that in baseball. The standard reply to any series of losses in April is it's still early. Baseball's a long season. We got 150 to go. All that stuff is true, but that doesn't mean you have to like the way that it's gone over the first dozen games. And you especially don't have to like the way it's gone when the play has been sloppy like it has been at times. So, maybe that's a reflection of how driven he is. Maybe that's a reflection of how Vladdy is becoming a real leader on that team. I mean,
I was going to say, not to interrupt you, but like, how much do you think the contract plays into that, and Bo being gone, where John says this is fully his team now? Like, do you think that adds pressure to him and what he's feeling, and for him to show frustration or want to be that guy we saw in the postseason for the entire regular season, which we know is pretty much unrealistic?
Yeah, that's a good point. I suppose it's a fine line between frustration and a sense of responsibility, because I think he does feel that. And his teammates will even tell you that Vlad has emerged as a leader. Part of that comes with the maturity and the fact that he's been in the league for a number of years now. But a ton of it comes with the pressure associated with that contract. When you sign that kind of a deal, the expectations that come with it, you have to produce. And when he produced so magnificently in the postseason last year, the expectations were legitimate that he would continue that this year, not just from fans and from his teammates and from management, but from himself. Like Vlad's a pretty driven dude. And so he was wearing it a little bit. That's why I think Wednesday's game meant so much to him. But he has been a slow starter in the past. I think last year it was 19 games before he got his first home run, and at least he kind of beat that this year. But they're going to need him to start driving the baseball a little bit, because that offense is struggling, and they're wearing it a little bit right now. And the obvious point, we haven't even mentioned his name yet, but not having Alejandro Kirk around is going to be a big deal for. I think it's going to be a couple of months.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Well, especially getting a screw put in his thumb, like who knows how he recovers from that or what it means. But I'm with you on, like, maybe it's to their advantage that they had that Dodgers series so early in the season. Especially with the talk to me about the media contingent that was down there for that series. I kept seeing like the press box look full, and like that has to come with some of it too. And Vladdy knowing they were in the spotlight like that, right? Like the Jays are going to be a ticket after last year, because it wasn't just Toronto that fell in love with them. A lot of people liked the way they played baseball. And to your point, I hope this is a get-right series against the Twins, because that series, I think, against Milwaukee coming up early next week is going to be very telling too. I expect that to be a good series, because like Milwaukee was pegged as the Blue Jays from the National League last year. Like they kind of do it the same way, right? So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, like how crazy was the media down there at Rogers Center for that Dodgers series?
It makes you wonder. That's a really good point that nobody's really discussed. I mean, it makes you wonder if all those, sort of the hoopla and the hype around this team is an added distraction, because for that Dodger series, like, I don't have exact numbers, but I'm going to tell you that it was pretty similar to what the media contingent was for the ALCS, and it may have even been bigger. Not the World Series. There was more here for the World Series, of course, but the ALCS, those three games are pretty comparable. I mean, we've got 5 or 6 Japanese reporters following the Jays full time anyway, because of the Okamoto factor. He was such a superstar over there. But there were 45 Japanese media in the press box, and other national media from other national U.S. outlets. It was a real scene, and that's not just in the press box. That spills out onto the field for batting practice. It spills into the clubhouse during clubhouse hours when the media has access and availability to the players. And so often in baseball, there's so much hype around the opening day and the opening series, and players are used to that and they expect that. And then the joke is, once you get past the first series, it's like, okay, you can exhale a little bit, and we're going to kind of just work our way into this 162 game season. Well, when you're a team that had the success that the Blue Jays had, you're not going to get that at home. Maybe not all season. I mean, I think the lowest crowd was 37,000, might have been 35,000. I mean, that's like, and you're getting midweek April crowds of that size. I mean, it's going to continue all season. So the Blue Jays have to get used to that. And I mean, they're human. They sense that the reason that there's 35 to 40,000 people in the stands is because they're a good team and they're expected to be a good team again. And these fans so much want more of what they saw for most of last season. So yeah, expectations bring pressure, and it's a real thing.
Without a doubt. And I want to get to where you were going with Alejandro Kirk. But first, talking about pressure, I want to go to Addison Barger, who we know is dealing with his bilateral ankle. What is it? What was it again? Oh, I can't remember what the
sprains, I believe. Yeah.
Sprains. Yeah. Spraining both
ankles.
ankles.
I don't know how you sprain both ankles in one play, but that's
me. Honestly, Rob, to me, it was the pressure of him wanting that base hit so bad that he leaned out and like he was running, like because that meant the difference. Because they kind of made it seem like he was going to be their cleanup hitter, and then like within a week of the season, Schneider comes out and says like he has to slow it down a bit because we know how Addison plays. He's like 110% all the way. But what do you make about like when he comes back and what you've seen from Jesus Sanchez and like Nathan Lucas is kind of taking a back seat in all this? Like he's the one suffering from less playing time. Like how do you see that kind of sorting it out? What do you believe in Addison Barger? What do you think the team believes in Addison Barger? And Jesus Sanchez, for my point, he's I feel like he's been pulling his whole weight. He's been pulling his weight so far.
Yeah, the Jays, as you know, as well, they're not afraid to mix things up and use who they feel the hot hand is when it's necessary. But let's go through each of those guys.
Do you think you can do that for 162 games?
Sure, you can. But I think with Barger specifically, I mean, I think that they had big expectations from him in spring training because of the breakout year that he had last year. And when people asked me prior to the season, who I thought might be a big breakout offensive player this year, I thought it might be him. I thought that he might be able to continue what he did last year. Instead, and unfortunately for him and for the Jays, he's looking a little bit more like he did in 2024 when he really struggled when he got his first opportunity with a big team, and then they had to send him back down to Buffalo. Came up last year and proved himself as a close to everyday big leaguer, a guy who could handle most of the pressure situations as required. And then, started this season sort of regressing. And I think you mentioned what John Schneider said about him. And it was kind of like maybe he was just trying to force things a little bit too much. And Schneider's message was, just take it easy, Addy. Just like, let the game come to you a little bit. And, maybe he was working on that. And then, of course, he gets injured. Having some time on the IL may not be the worst thing for him. Maybe will allow him to, I'm assuming the injury isn't too dire. Will allow him some time to maybe regroup mentally, and then he can be a little bit fresher when he gets back in the lineup. But yeah, I'm with you on Jesus. He's the guy that he's maybe the most exciting offensive player that we've seen this year consistently. And the kid, he's big too. Like he's big and strong. He can hit for power. Seems to have a real positive attitude, and maybe is a bit of a surprise so far. Lucas is Lucas. They're lucky that they're fortunate they have him around now with all the injuries. And I think he's the kind of guy that you always want on your roster, even if he's not an everyday guy, because he can come off of the bench, as he proved often last year. He's a guy that can, if you have a healthy infield, you can spell him. You can put him in when the matchups seem favorable for him, and just a good, solid major leaguer. But of those three guys, Sanchez may be the one with the most upside, and certainly the most exciting upside.
Right. Without a doubt, I agree with you 100% on that, Rob. Okay, I know I'm keeping you a bit long here, but just a couple more topics I want to get to. Let's talk about Alejandro Kirk and his loss and what it means for this team. How do you see this playing out? Like I know everyone loves Tyler Heineman, and he did great in that role last year. But did this team maybe miss an opportunity to improve at the backup catcher position? Or what do you make of, could they have that in Brendan Valenzuela? What are you seeing there? Or how do you think they deploy the catchers moving forward?
Yeah, you could argue it's hindsight to say that they missed an opportunity in the offseason, but it would have been foresight. I mean, really, you cannot go into a season where there's such high expectations and not have a reliable backup, and especially with Alejandro Kirk, right? I mean, he played 130, 135 games last year and handled it very well. He's improved himself physically and has shown that he's capable of handling that kind of a workload. But once you get an injury to a guy like that, it's, then where are you? And of course, as fate would have it, like in each of the, almost instantly when Tyler Heineman came in, he made an impression for the wrong way. And then he did it on the very next night, arguably cost them 2 games. Tyler Heineman is a legit backup. Tyler Heineman is not a legit everyday major league catcher. He hasn't proven that to be that at any point in his career. Valenzuela is, a kid that the organization has some positive feelings about and liked what he did in spring training. I mean, he got a lot of reps in spring training with the regular pitchers when Kirk was off at the WBC. But I mean, I think that the sense would have been that he wasn't ready for the major leagues. They were hoping that they would maybe give him a chance at some point before the season was over, and not in the first and second week of the season. And he's had a couple of moments of making a couple of struggling plays defensively. Now you can excuse him because he came in sort of a situation that maybe he even wasn't expecting, and maybe give him a little bit of time to prove himself and to settle down a little bit. But it's the absence of Alejandro Kirk. I mean, there's a number of people have made the point that there aren't many people on that roster that are more important than Alejandro Kirk. For his offense, of course, and his defense, and the pitchers love him. The pitchers love the way that he calls a game. They love the way that he frames pitches. He's been there's a reason they gave him the long extension. The Blue Jays management and his teammates think the world of Alejandro Kirk, and his absence is huge. And if it's any longer than 2 months, it could be very difficult for them.
I agree 100%. Yeah, they gave him that extension early in the season. A lot of people were questioning it, but I agree with you. I think just the familiarity with the pitchers and how much they love them, which gives me a perfect segue. To me, the offense is what's going to be what carries them, Rob, which is why I've spent so much time on it. But of course, we've got to discuss the pitching, rotation, and bullpen. I guess we'll start with the bullpen. How are you feeling about it 2 weeks into the season?
I think there's been some good signs. I really like what Tyler Rogers does. I really like what Louis Varland does. He seems to have picked up from where he left off in the postseason last year. It's funny. I tell people this. I had a nice conversation with Brendan Little down in Dunedin, and I talked to Pete Walker about him, and there was a lot of positives, about the new pitches that he's added and the elevation of his velocity and all that kind of stuff. I thought, you know what, I'm not going to write this just yet. I'm going to wait to see how he does. Kind of glad that I did wait because, I felt bad for him. He seems like a decent dude and all that. And I think he did make some improvements. You could see it in spring training. He had that elevated fastball and then that would allow everything else in his arsenal to be that much more effective. And then, he comes and poops the bed on multiple occasions. And
I think that was more between years. Yeah, for sure.
100%. I wrote it was between the shoulder blades is the issue there. So the rotation, or I'm sorry, the bullpen to me has been solid. Now we switch over to the rotation. The next couple of weeks are going to be very interesting. I mean, they've got Patrick Corbin pitching tonight.
Yeah, what are your expectations for him?
I think if you're the Blue Jays, you hope that he can give you 5 innings and keep you in the ball game. And if you're expecting anything more than that, then you're aiming a little bit high. There's a reason that he was available to be signed for $1 million last week, right? Yep. Everybody knows that he was an all-star earlier in his career, but that was 6 or 7 years ago. A little bit better last year. He showed some signs, but he is strictly a guy that the Jays hope they don't have to use for more than two to three starts. And we saw Savage pitch up to 60 pitches or so last night, and his fastball is getting up there. They're not going to rush him here, but he's getting closer. But if we were having this conversation a month and a half ago, the conversation would have been, what are they going to use? Where are they going to use all these 8 starters that they have? Now they barely have 4, and then that's not even discussing Max Scherzer. I know it's been described as forearm tendonitis, but whenever you hear a diagnosis that has the word forearm in it, you have to be at least a little bit concerned. So, that
doesn't go away easy either.
Yeah.
I'd be concerned about it as well.
And it's you can't blame management for it. I mean, they had the arms in there. It's been sort of a confluence of bad luck there. Barrios with his, I don't know how you pitch through a broken bone in your arm, but apparently that's what he's going to do. Fractured bone.
Yes.
And then, Bieber is a great mystery. He's still at least a month away. I mean, he hasn't done anything. He isn't even close to pitching in minor league games yet. So it's they've got some ground to navigate with the pitching staff over the next couple of weeks. And that's why the slow start to me was the most concerning. The 5-7 record is this team's nowhere near being healthy yet. So, I mean, if this skid continues, if you double that up and, are 10-14, it's like, now where do you go? They haven't played anybody in the American League East yet either. So it's,
yeah. It's
but anyway.
doubt. But yeah, Patrick Corbin to me is maybe like whatever you can get out of him determines how much you have to rush either you Savage or Barrios back. Because to your point, like Bieber seems to be the furthest away. And I think now we kind of know why he opted in so quickly. But yeah, it'll be very interesting. I have a good story about Patrick Corbin. I don't know if you know it, the spider story. I'm going to try and tell it to the audience. Last year, or I believe it was last year or 2 years ago, when a spider bit him and he came out and he threw 5.5, like one hit ball. So let's hope maybe a spider gets a hold of him now and get some Peter Parker energy coming from him to go out and have an outing. But yeah, Savage is very curious to me because I couldn't find how many pitches he's thrown lately. But for me, it was weird that he was only going 35, 44 pitches and wasn't really ramping up too much. So I don't know how close or how far he is. But yeah. And Brandon Little, hey, he threw a shutout inning for Buffalo the other day, I believe 2 days ago. Yeah. Who knows if we see him again. Rob, really appreciate this. Like I said, I know I kept you a bit longer, but always enjoy the conversation. Thanks for hopping on. We're going to do it again soon, and hopefully Sid will be back, and the three of us can have a convo. Thanks a ton, Rob.
Yeah, sounds great. Enjoy the Masters. Enjoy the.
Yeah, you watch it? Who's your guy? Who do you like? I forgot. You're a huge golfer. I meant to close it. See, I'm new at this.
I like Rory a little bit. I'm kind of rooting for Shayne Lowry a little bit as well. So both of those guys are playing this afternoon. It'll be kind of fun to watch them.
Yeah, Shayne's got such a great personality. I'd love to see him win this. I agree with you 100%. You getting out golfing anytime soon?
Give me some weather and I'm out there, man. Hopefully.
Yeah, you might have to go somewhere else. Take a flight somewhere to go somewhere. Anyway, yeah, exactly. Thanks a ton for doing this. It's Rob Longley, Post Media, Toronto Sun. Check out his work. Get some great quotes, great stories from him, and always love reading it and always love the conversation. Thanks, Rob.
Hey, thanks, Azo. We'll do it again.
Take care. All right, so that's it. That's the Jays season. I am hoping that, they can breathe a sigh of relief. And really, for me, the regular season starts now. Even with the injuries and that, like you said, you got to get right. Series against, right now, the mediocre 6-6 Minnesota Twins, but I don't think they're that good. And we'll see, because I do think the series against the Brewers early next week could be very telling. So I want to tell you this Patrick Corbin story. The Blue Jays could have like an Avenger kind of pitching for them tonight. If you want, go read it. Just Google Patrick Corbin spider bite, and it was in April 2025 when he was a member of the Texas Rangers. He had just signed that big contract, and he wasn't pitching well all year. He was struggling a bunch, and he suffered a venomous spider bite on his foot and ankle that caused it to really swell out, and he couldn't walk, and he was going to miss a start. And he's like, no, I can do this. I can do it. And he goes out there and he pitches 5 1/3 innings of 1 run and striking out 6. It was against the Angels, but we won't hold that against him. But his performance started improving after that incident. So I don't know if somebody can let a spider loose down there in the dugout, but I don't know. A little bit of Blue Jays having Spider-Man on the mound tonight, little Peter Parker vibes. So we'll see what he can do. And again, to me, he's important because if he's not, and again, he's coming from facing guys at the single A level. And he had an outing. He stretched out, which is what you hope. And as Rob put, if they get 5 innings from him, that's a win. So let's hope so. But if he's off a cliff, and then you got Max pitching this weekend, see where he is with his forearm, you might have to rush your Savage up after you wanted to take your time with him, and you might have to and then just see where Barrios is at. Like Rob said, I don't know how you pitch with a fractured elbow, but apparently he's going to do it. So that's it. Okay, we're past an hour here, but I do want to get in some Raptors talk, because they were getting extremely close to clinching a playoff spot. First time, them too, like the Pittsburgh Penguins since 2022, which would be quite the accomplishment for them and Darko. And I want to shout out Darko because he got his 100th win last night. So we need to celebrate that for all we say about Darko. And like I said, I think these playoffs will tell us what we need to know about him. But he got his 100th win last night, and that's not nothing. So accomplishment to him, and this team has taken a step forward this year with him from where they were last year, even though they were kind of tanking last year. Well, like not everybody was healthy. They were never healthy all at the same time. They were down. And you know what that got them? Got them Colin Murray Boyles. So who, again, was impressive, as Sid and I talked about, 17 points. Darko was praising him again when he got asked about him last game. He even said, I'm going to have to cut this out because he doesn't want it going to his head. That's what he said last night. So hopefully he doesn't. But for Darko, like, I was going to pull some sound, but there wasn't really a great sound clip of him on his 100th win. And he just kept citing my thing with Darko. Again, he's getting to that John Schneider point where if the team beats them, he tips his cap to them and he says, we still played hard. And when they win, he just goes to the stat sheet and he reads it. To me, it's kind of, I wish Darko knew hockey because he seems like a Pelly kind of guy, knowing all this data driven from the stat sheets and that. And maybe that's why Pelly will keep him around. But as for the game last night, they beat the Miami Heat again for second game in a row, 128-114. And it's the consistency, back-to-back games. The Heat actually came out, scored the first 7 points on them. But the Raptors didn't collapse. They played a great game. Might be the best game Brandon Ingram's had as a Raptor. He was phenomenal. He was a superstar. He showed why he could be their number one guy, like in terms of offensive and scoring. So that was good. And then, he got them through the third quarter. They went into the halftime with, what was it, a 15-point lead or something? Something like that. And because they ended, actually it was more than that, because I think they ended on a 24-6 run to end the second half, and then they came out, scored the first 7 points of the third quarter, and they kept a double-digit lead, even though Miami hit like 9 threes in the third quarter. It was crazy. They started finding their stroke, but the Raptors still had a double-digit lead going into the fourth quarter, and that's where Scotty Barnes came up big, because Ingram needed a break in that fourth quarter. And this is what the rotation, Sid and I have talked about it, the rotation Darko uses in the fourth quarter. Well, Scotty Barnes was on his game too. You can't look at that score sheet, just see 13 points by Scotty Barnes and be like, not a great night. No, Scotty pulled his weight, saved most of it for the fourth quarter, and he came up pretty big, and that was great. It was really great. RJ had 22. And again, like I said, Raptors close to clinching their first playoff berth since 2022. They moved past Atlanta into 5th place in the East. And the Raptors and Atlanta have the same record right now, but Raptors hold the tiebreaker because they swept that season series. So they're going to be good with that. Now, we all know they have trouble against top 3 teams in the conference. And I didn't even realize their overall record and their struggle against opponents in the Atlantic Division. They're 4-11 this year against Atlantic opponents, which is kind of crazy. They're like 14-4 and 14-3 against teams from the other 2 divisions in the conference. It's just the Atlantic that has problem for them. And who do they play tonight? The New York Knicks. And Toronto has lost 12 straight to the New York Knicks, which is a big problem going into Friday night. And the funny thing is that I saw this tweet by Tim Bontemps, and it basically says that New York will essentially get a chance to control its opponent for the first round. If Toronto wins tomorrow, aka tonight, here, it's very likely to be Knicks Hawks. If New York wins tomorrow here, it's very likely to be Knicks Raptors. So Knicks, maybe if they want the Raptors, they're going to have to beat them tonight. And I think that would be a pretty safe bet because they could do this. And hey, Vladdy's feeling better because he was there at the Raptors game last night. He had his big smile on. Vladdy's feeling the vibes again. He's got this. He can do it. So that's a good sign for the Jays going into this weekend series with the Twins. Again, I think that's about it for the Toronto teams. Again, want to shout out Winnipeg Jets. I wish there was a way they could get in because it's pretty amazing what they're doing. And they are a team that could make some noise in the playoffs. Could they get in with Hellebuck and some of their guys? Like even Jonathan Taves is playing well lately. Like it's pretty insane. And Ottawa for another big win last night. Like they're right there. They're actually getting a stranglehold on one of those last playoff spots. So I'm happy for Ottawa. I hope they get in. So 3 maybe Canadian teams for sure in the playoffs in the NHL. That would be pretty good. And like I said, I really wish that they could find a way to get Winnipeg in there, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen because the Kings picked up their 20th regulation win last night. So they're clearly in a spot now. But that's it. Anyways, so that's a Friday show. Thank you guys for joining. By the way, I didn't say April 10th as the sweater indicates. That's why I wore this sweater. I swear that's the only reason. Even with Sid not here, I felt like it was a proper sweater to wear that would remind me about the date. So that's that. And I hope everybody has a good weekend. Thanks for tuning in. That's another episode of the Sid Seixeiro Show powered by Sick Media. We'll be back on Monday. I can pretty much guarantee Sid will be back here, so you won't have to put up with more of me. I'll shut up, and Sid will have a lot of takes, I'm sure. And just want to thank you guys for tuning in, listening, for the support. Chat's been great again. I appreciate all the kind words, you guys. Always puts a smile on my face, sends me into the weekend in a good mood. So I appreciate it. Thanks again. This is the Sid Seixeiro Show, powered by Sick Media. Let's see what the weekend brings. We'll be here Monday to talk to you about it all. Take care.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sid Seixeiro Show on YouTube, X, Instagram, Facebook, and wherever you get your podcasts.